Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, Kyle. Did
Good
I
evening,
make you
Matthew.
laugh? Did I
A
make you
little bit.
laugh? It was a little bit of a dick and ball joke running around. Doesn't matter. Anyways, welcome to the second podcast of the Untitled. We still have to. I did title it for YouTube purposes. I think on YouTube purposes, it's two buff dudes. Two buff dudes. Take it for what you
Starting
will.
that with a lie is not a good way to start a podcast, buddy.
Well, we're buffed in certain
We're
situations.
cinema
Anyway,
buffs, that's for sure.
yeah,
That we
yeah.
are.
So we've got a weekly podcast dealing with movies, movie reviews, all that good shit. And my friend Kyle here is with me. I'm Mephisto, and let's get started. Today's epic tale is of Fight Club, 1999. A very, very good year for movies. I went through it. It's got plenty of stuff, and this is one of the crowning jewels. Kyle, since you are more adversed in this particular tale, especially because you've actually read the book on the subject, give me a like a small overview of this movie. We're gonna
I
go
would say
into details soon. Like
the best way to make it is at the short synopsis. It's a take on Paul, the author, really wrote this as a take on his critique on how modern masculinity was perceived in the late 90s, and how in a way how pervasive even toxic masculinity is now really become even then, and how when it exacerbates itself and it kind of becomes its own it exacerbates it and perpetuates itself, how horrible it actually can be. And it's also his critique on consumer culture as well. And in the end, I do love that a lot of people who are advocates of the film, especially in their teenage years, appreciate more of the angsty side of it. I know I did, because it's like, I want to be like Tyler Durden. Fuck the establishment. Fuck everything. But when you're older, you can understand that that's actually a critique of how destructive that thought mentality actually really is. And in the end of the film, when we get to it, is really kind of the protagonist, the narrator, as he's referred to, is really kind of overcoming his own shortcomings and kind of overcoming his own misguided beliefs that he has to be something other than himself. So
yeah, I got that. I've got a little bit of a twist on that, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So first, I think 20 minutes of the movie is just a big setup and giving us a little bit of a window into Edward Norton. I just don't remember the name of the guy. I remember Tyler Durden.
Never give his name.
They never give his name.
He's listed as he's the narrator.
He's the narrator. So we'll call him Ed Norton. And we got a little glimpse of Ed Norton's life. He is a cubicle working, office working type of guy. He works at an appraisal in an insurance company. He watches a lot of aftermath of death, basically. So that gives you a little bit of a let's say the clinical side of death, I would call it a little bit. That's the feeling I got, and how he deals with it. And we've got the way in which he deals with it, and how somebody is encroaching on his life, because it's a very long piece. Like I said, it's about 20 minutes. It starts off with this, and you can take over. We'll do this. Here we go. All right. So
yes,
this is the support group. This is how we are thrusted into the movie. We're basically thrusted into this. Bob. Go on.
Bob. Well,
Bob
had bitch tits.
Bob had bitch tits. Yeah.
You know, that chest expansion program you see on late night TV, that was his idea. And do you want me to do all of Meatloaf's lines too? Because I can't.
No, no, no. It's fine. It's fine. We'll. I know you know everything there is
and
to know about this
and this
movie,
what
but
remaining men together is when he goes to his doctor because he's suffering from the severe insomnia, and he's trying to actually get. What's odd is they do mention this in the book too. Uh, um, is that powder blue Tuinals, lipstick red Secanols? Those are just kind of pain relievers and sleep medication,
yeah,
basically, because he's
yeah,
trying to get from his doctor. And he goes, well, if you want to see pain, go to the testicular cancer group. And this is how he meets Bob, and this is how his first foray into this. And really, you could tell too, on that side that I mentioned about the toxic masculinity thing, how he is so repressed in his emotions that he cannot find a way to express how miserable he is until he's just allowed to let go when he meets Bob at that support group. First thing he
yeah,
goes,
and
it's okay, it's your turn. You can cry now.
exactly. So what happens is it starts off with the group, but then it goes like a little bit of a backtrack, and then you get like
Yeah.
the office bit and the insurance bit and the insomnia,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go back into the group. You go back into the group, and Bob says, "You can cry now," and Edward Norton is like, I'm not really sure. I don't know what's going on. And but then he like lets go. And then he realized these groups are giving me permission to open up as a man and cry and not judge me for it.
Yep.
And and opening up makes him vulnerable, but it also makes him go to sleep. So he overcomes the insomnia by being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So what he does is, oh, this is good for me, but it's only one night. So let me find a different support group for every single
Nice.
night of the week in order for me to just go to bed.
Yep. It became an addiction.
This is the fun part though, where he goes into a group where they do like a
Guided
um
meditation.
guided meditation. There it is. As he tries to find his happy spot, and he
You're
doesn't
going
understand
deeper
what the heck.
into your
Yeah,
cave.
yeah, deeper into your cave. And I don't know about you, I could never do this exercise ever in
No,
my life. I
I, I,
can't.
I couldn't either. My mind races at a mile a minute, so I could never stop and do that.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not that like my mind is not still for every single minute unless I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Thank heavens I do not have insomnia. Um so reach there's that's the point. That's the point I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to reach. Marla. That
Yes.
is the thorn, the first thorn in his side. Go.
Yes. So, Marla, it's like that cut in the roof of your mouth. It would only heal if you could stop tonguing it.
Exactly.
Yes. So Marla Singer, this baker, Marla Singer, showed up. Every one of his support groups, essentially, she ends up showing up to all of them.
Yeah.
And essentially, she views it as a form of entertainment. She is not taking the kind of emotional catharsis that he is getting out of it. And he realizes that he can recognize someone else who is also not really there for the right purposes. So it takes his ability to get catharsis away. So again, he then reverts back to his former state where again he gets back into insomnia, where he
Yeah.
can't sleep. He can't sleep.
And he pins every single one of his problems now on Marla because Marla is the person who prevents him from concentrating enough to open up. He can't open up in these meetings if she's there.
Yeah.
And the funny part is she even comes to the testicular cancer group, even though everyone there is a man. But of course, nobody's judging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in 1999.
Well, especially for those support groups too. It was anyone who was remaining men together was also supposed to be for survivors of those who had testicular cancer as well.
Yes.
That was a line actually in the book. They don't actually mention that in the film. So her
I
presence
think
seems really odd in the film. In the book, it makes more sense because, like, oh, well, she could be there technically, but she wasn't. Obviously, she's not supposed to be there. But
yeah, but we're not getting the full breadth of what's going on. We're looking at it through his perspective. So the people
yeah,
around him don't actually act anything towards Marla. He's the only one who's like, what is this person doing here? Why
yep,
is she here? Why is
yep,
she in this group, or why is she in that group? And then he actually gets to interact with her, and we'll see that in a second.
yes, with Marla, yeah,
Yeah. So he actually interacts with Marla, and he basically follows her around, and she just explains what's going. She explains everything, her motives, everything. She's pretty clear about what's going on. Yet he's still looking for that
yeah.
little that the edge, the hook,
Yep.
but there's no hook.
No,
She's completely like her
she's utterly ambivalent to it.
yeah,
It's just it's something to it's like a free TV show for her. That's what it is. It's
yeah,
she said it. She says specifically in the film, it's cheaper than a movie and there's free coffee.
yeah. She specifically said that, and when she
Yeah,
said that, it was like, what more do you want?
yeah.
Just get
Because
over it. But he
she
can't get
asks
over it. He
she asks
can't.
him she asks him, it's like, well, why do you do it? Because when people think you're dying, they really listen to you. And she goes back. She repeats back to him instead of just waiting for their turn to speak.
Yeah, yeah,
That
and
really shows the dichotomy between the two.
exactly. So after this part, we continue on. She's like, this is the part where she takes them to the thrift store, and she's the kind of person who disregards her own personal life, because
Mhm.
whatever what happens is what happens. There's I know some people who act like that, and they don't care. She
Mhm.
just don't care. She is I would say a nihilist per se, right? You would
She
could you
is
catch?
it in the most un I would say she is a bit obtrusive and a little bit harmful, but not in the way that most severe nihilists are, where they have absolutely no disregard whatsoever, where harming someone would not affect them, like physically harming someone. Marla isn't like that, but in this scene, she's still like she steals clothes from the laundromat and sells them at the thrift store. Like,
Yeah,
obviously, she's financially harming someone because she doesn't care, but she's not physically harming someone the way that like an absolute nihilist would consider that. As like, well, it doesn't matter anyway. But no, but you are right. She is, in a sense, she is pretty much nihilistic. I guess that would be the best way to really describe her as a character.
so what happens next is we get another like a little bit of more of an expansion about Ed Norton's character, in terms of, yeah, I'm working at an insurance company, I'm sort of an appraiser, but also I'm working at an office, but I'm also going out to the field,
Mm-hmm.
and going out to the field requires you to do in the US, you have to like take a plane to go there and then come back and then go there and then come back. I don't know how much in your line of work you do that, but I don't. And if I would, I would take a car, not
Yeah.
not a plane. But in those planes, he talks about a kind of a disposable way of living. So it's the utensils are disposable. I don't remember the actual name.
Yep.
You
Uh,
know.
yep. Well, actually, it's odd because I was going to bring this up because I used to travel like this quite a bit for work, so
Ooh.
I know about the concept of tiny life. They called single serving is what they call them. Single serving.
Single serving. That's the
Serving.
thing I
Yeah.
wanted to get to. Single serving. So single
Yep.
serving friends on the plane, where you
Yep.
talk to the guy sitting next to you, but after that, you're out.
Never gonna talk to him again.
Single
Yep.
serving food, single serving utensils. And then he goes into the hotel rooms where everything is mini. So mini shampoo, mini conditioner, mini toothpaste, mini everything.
Mhm.
And that is the travel, sort of a traveling salesman kind of life, which is more
Yeah.
50s, I would say. Less airplane, more car, but more of a travel type ordeal.
It's really completely dependent on what the profession is, especially in his. He's in compliance and liability for a car manufacturer, so he's the one who's actually determining on whether or not they should issue recalls. And
Yeah.
he talks to one of his single serving friends about whether or not it's like, well, if A plus B is less than C, then we don't do a recall. We'll just go ahead and pay out the liability for it. So if like a rear differential locks up in a car and it causes a massive car crash and kills a whole family, well, is this going to happen on more than these certain number of occasions that we can kind of determine? If not, then we're just going to pay off the family and let it be. We're not going to do a massive recall because a recall would cost us more money. It's a very, again, this film is very nihilistic and it takes a very blunt approach, very brass tacks, analytical view on how to determine the real value of a human life. And unfortunately, in a lot of situations, that is how it's still done. So
I don't know. I don't know if it's sort of a term that was in the industry, we'll call it an industry or not. But at certain point, it had a name. I know it as bean counter. Have you ever heard that term, bean counter?
yeah. Well, it's anything that's
Bean counter is this exact thing. If A minus B equals C, then we pay out, or vice versa. Okay, I totally butchered that, but yeah, if the price of payout to the family costs more than the recall, then we recall, or vice versa. But yeah, I know it as bean counters. He didn't say that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So on this occasion, we'll switch over to this. On this single serving plane, he meets this guy, Tyler Durden. And Tyler Durden is a traveling soap merchant. He creates his own soaps and he sells them. That's what we know at this point in time.
Yes.
Anything to add?
He does mention that he makes the comment. He goes, "Well, Tyler, you know what? You are the most interesting single serving friend I've ever met." And he goes, "What's?"
Yes.
Okay. Tyler gives him a look for a second and goes, "See, I have this thing." And Tyler immediately goes, "No, I get it. It's very clever." How is that? How's that working out for you? And Edward Norton goes, "What do you mean? Being clever? Good, I guess. Keep it up." So and there's a little tiny little Easter egg there too, where when he looks down, he looks down and goes, "Oh wow, we have the same exact briefcase."
Yes, and that is foreshadowing what will come next. If you're watching this for the first time, you would think, "Oh, okay, that's their hook. That's their like topic of conversation." It starts with, "Oh, we've got the same briefcase." And that's where the conversation starts. But in fact, it's that Easter egg where, and there's another one after this. Let me see.
I also did want to mention the Hindu cows joke that was in there.
Oh, go.
The oxygen joke that he mentioned there.
Oh, yeah.
Evacuation at 35,000 feet.
Exactly.
Why do they pump it oxygen? Because oxygen gets you high. Look at them.
It does. Yeah, he shows that pamphlet, and on the pamphlet, everybody is either calm or smiling. Which in 30,000 feet, when you have a plane going down, that's not happening. That's definitely not happening. And it's also true. It's also true that the high volume oxygen doesn't make you high. It just makes you less hysterical. Less hysterical. Not particularly high. At this point, he loses his luggage. I don't remember what was the significance of it, though.
Okay, so this was kind of the setup to what happens next. It's sort of the downfall of the narrator. So he loses this first, and he goes, "Oh, well, I had everything in there. I had my DK, my shoes, my Calvin Klein shirts, my AX ties." And he goes, "I love the line," and he goes, "Well, sometimes when a He goes, no, was my luggage ticking? He goes, no, it was vibrating. And there's a whole
Oh,
line.
so it's a dildo.
He goes,
Yeah.
well, most times electric razor, but sometimes it's a dildo. And we never say anything in the event of said dildo. It's never your dildo. It's a dildo.
Yeah, that was
But I
in
don't own it. The guy just brushes him off like,
yeah,
we're
in
done here.
1999, that was like edgy humor. In 2021, it was like, oh,
Yeah, that's
oh, yeah,
nothing.
it's nothing. I mean, we've seen it all, we've done it all. But yeah, he loses his luggage, so the day starts off bad, and then he comes home and his apartment is completely kablooied. Like he had a explosion in his apartment and everything he owned. Oh, I'll go back a little bit. During the section where you get to know a little bit about his life, one of the things he mentions is the IKEA. His apartment is completely furnished with IKEA things, and it literally puts like Flukenflaken and it gives
all the dollar signs.
Yeah, it's not only the dollar signs, it's all the different items, and it's like a catalog. You see like a catalog of IKEA. It's very interesting. It completely flew by the first couple of times I've seen it. Now that I've seen it again, it's like, okay, so I know what comes next. This is like the setup, the consumer portion of the setup. And cut to this where he looks up and the apartment is completely destroyed. And he was like, the first thing it comes into his mind is like, oh my God, I have to replace all these IKEA furnishings.
Yeah.
Which is
that there went
insane to me. It's absolutely everything. But he doesn't miss the memories. He misses the items.
In fact, his only real comment of lamentation is when he sees it's the outer door of his fridge on the ground, and he looks and goes, oh no, how sad.
Yeah.
A fridge full of condiments and no food. Because it's like he's thinking of what people are going to think of him, not about anything else at the time. Like, oh, I could have died if I would have been in the apartment at the time or anything. No, it's just, oh no, people are going to think worse of me. And I've lost everything that I think that I really care about now. So
yeah, exactly. So moving right along, he has to call Tyler. He calls Tyler, and if you're watching this for the first time, it was like, why would you call that guy? It was like, you have nobody else. Okay, I get it, but we know what you need to do. You need to go to a motel, a hotel, or rent a place, not like talk to a single serving friend, because a single serving friend will not give you a place to stay. Supposedly. Supposedly.
And it's odd too, because he calls Marla first. And then he just kind of breathes in the phone and he can't think of anything to say. And then he hangs up the phone, and then he calls Tyler.
Exactly.
And then nobody picks up, so then he hangs up the phone again, and Tyler calls him back. And he's like, well, I never pick up my phone. So
yeah, exactly. He's in a place where he talks to him, and I don't remember at one point, I think it's in the bar. He's like, Tyler says to him, just ask me. You know you want to ask me. Just ask me.
Yes.
Is it there or after the fight?
It's right after they leave the bar, right before their first fight. So
yeah. So
one thing I want to bring up about this conversation, though, with them in the bar, and then we talk about who Tyler is too in this too. The conversation they have in the bar really kind of personifies his critique on consumerism, because the way that Tyler tells him is like, oh no, you've lost that sofa unit with the stream green stripe pattern. He goes, you know, he says this, he pauses at one point, and Edward Norton looks at him and he goes, well, what? He goes, you know, the things you own end up owning you.
Yes, that was like I think I've heard that someplace else, but the context is always anti-consumerism. It is
Yes.
almost always anti-consumerism at one variation or another.
Yes, and this like to its heightened extent because that's what Tyler really is. Tyler is anti-establishment in any kind of sense of the word. That's kind of the crux of his character is.
You would you say is a complete anarchist? He's not a nihilist. He
No,
believes
because
in
there are some
something.
beliefs, but he's not a complete anarchist either because when you see the way things are structured later on when we start talking about how the clubs and especially a certain thing later that we'll discuss how it's structured and how it's organized, he's obviously not an anarchist because if he was an anarchist that wouldn't exist. It would all just
Yes.
do whatever you want.
Yes.
um, I
Um,
believe he's definitely anti-capitalist, he's definitely anti-consumerism. He's definitely not a nihilist because he has his own structured sense of beliefs, how misguided they might be. He still has them. Um, but it's really kind of hard to pin down his character because what you find out at the end of the movie, when you go back, you kind of have to take everything into consideration on what he really means, and especially what he really means to Edward Norton's character, and how that really changes their dynamic and how you perceive your main the narrator, Edward Norton's character, at all. Like you have to really kind of reevaluate every single scene in the film once you see the ending of the film. When you go back and you take Tyler's character into context and all that he believed in as well, with juxtaposed with Edward Norton at this point in time being this straight-laced, white-collar, just corporate guy.
yeah, and we'll discuss it. Never mind. But
Yeah.
we stop just for a second before
Mm-hmm.
we stop at the movie itself. We stop before things escalate into the more violent part, which is understandably one of the bases of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Norton explains what Tyler Durden does,
Yes.
but it affects the rest of the movie.
Yes.
Because Tyler Durden, what he does is he's a projectionist, but he is very cunning. So what he does is at the age where there were films, what he does is he changes the roles every time it needs to be changed without people losing their place in the movie. Nowadays they do it with an intermission, or back then they used to do it with an intermission. But what he does is it's a continuous movie, and when it's time to change the reel, what he does, he splices one frame of a very naughty movie, which I cannot show here
No, you
because
cannot.
we are on YouTube. It gives a glimpse of I think it was a porno movie. It doesn't really matter. It's just a glimpse of a porno movie, and it is inside a family-friendly movie, so everybody can catch it.
Yeah.
The parents don't say anything to the kids and they brush it off, but the kids are being basically molested.
The little girl bawling her eyes out.
Yeah. And the parent doesn't really know what to say
like,
because they can't acknowledge what they've seen.
yeah.
They just can't.
Well, and again, also with Tyler's, also his other anti-establishment kind of his other jobs that he did, where he'd worked at a maitre d at one of the Pressman Hotel, which is like was supposed to be this luxurious hotel. What he does, how he sabotaged the food with his own bodily waste.
Yeah,
is a proper way to say that.
Yeah, exactly. I've literally switched to this.
Yep.
So they're literally talking, and he's peeing into the crab bisque or whatever.
Oh, there's a lobster bisque. Yeah,
lobster, whatever. So he was like peeing into that, and they have this little conversation, which is not really a conversation because Ed Norton is like looking at the camera and explaining what Tyler Durden is doing, which is odd, but it's like a directorial choice in the movie just to give you a backstory of Tyler Durden and what's going on. But yeah.
And as for the cream and mushroom soup, go on, tell him.
Yeah,
You get the
exactly.
idea.
So what Tyler asks is for Ed Norton to hit him. After they go out the bar, they
Yeah, to bring it back to your point where he was asking, well, what we've had 3 pitchers of beer. What's it going to take you? Just ask me, man.
yeah,
You know,
just
can I
ask
stay
me.
at your place? And he's like, yeah, but you have to do me a favor. I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Exactly. So he hits him in the, I don't know, he's in the ribs or
Ah,
in the
God,
stomach.
no, you hit
Oh,
me in the ear.
the ear. From all the places, why the ear
Oh,
though?
God, I'm sorry, man. I fucked it up. And he goes, no,
I
it's
fucked it.
perfect.
It's
And
awesome. And he hits him
Tyler hits
right
Edward
back.
Norton right in the ribs. And he, oh, God, that hurts. Hit me again.
Exactly.
No, you hit me again.
Yeah, exactly. So they literally go into this fight where they fight each other and 2 people come out. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, go away. Is it this scene that they
No,
no, that's later. No,
their
no, no, that's
next
later.
fight. Yeah.
That's the next fight. So they go into this house and Edward Norton explicitly said, I don't know if he's squatting, if he's renting, and I don't care.
It's like, and neither would have surprised me because this is a dilapidated old house by old. He goes because it's by paper mills
Something
and
like that.
and a
And
bunch of
there's
other like
nobody
manufacturing
around.
areas. Yeah,
Yeah,
nowhere for
there's no
miles.
one nowhere for miles, and they do what they please. They later on just play golf. They don't play golf. They just shoot golf balls all the way around.
It's like they're using it as their own personal driving range, is their front yard basically because there's no one around. Might as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
might as well.
in that scene, there's a recurring thing that comes up when you saw it just briefly there when Mephi had that
Yeah,
segment shown up where Edward Norton is shining a flashlight on a book and he's reading it. Well, the previous occupant and it was a bit of a shut-in, and they're cataloged entries of organs written in the third person.
yes,
And it becomes kind of an ongoing thing where so sometimes people refer to Edward Norton's character as Jack because the character that he mentioned is like, oh, I am Jack's complete lack of surprise, which comes up later. But
yeah,
this person goes like, well, I'm Jack's colon, and Tyler's character is riding a bike around this house, and it's just like, yeah, I get cancer, I kill Jack.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the point where they fight.
This is that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, and it basically comes up to okay, these 2 guys fight, and these guys come out and just like, what's going on? And it actually turns into something that they're into. Let me switch a little bit further. There we go. I want this part.
Which is funny.
Yes.
Which is funny too, Meth, because that when those guys are coming out first, their perplexed looks, when you view it in retrospect, it makes sense where they're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
gonna get to that.
Yeah.
But
it basically escalates. I want to put this forward because we're going to do that intermission after this.
Okay.
So it escalates into those guys who came out basically become a part of something that is going outside of the bar. Mm-hmm. And it escalates into more and more people. Now, this is before the rules, right? This is just a little bit before the rules. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I like to see this guy. So the guy in the jacket, this dude right here, that's the manager, the bar manager, or the barkeep.
Yep, his name is Irving.
You see him later on. I didn't catch the name, but okay. In the book, it says his name.
No, in the movie, it even says
in the
his
movie.
Name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this straight-laced guy is watching this and was like, "Can I join?
No, can I be next?
Yeah, can I be next?" So it shows you the escalation and who are the people who join this, and later on, it will discuss it. Never mind. Well, I was gonna say the priest, but um, let me just.
Oh,
So,
that's actually a really good scene with them in the bathtub too.
yeah, I know. You wanna talk about it? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, just real quick, because this is another his kind of commentary on masculinity in its very in the way that it's become more and increasingly more alienating and toxic in a way, because he mentions about his father. They both talk about their father specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
And one line where Tyler says, "Well, you know, after I graduate from college, I call my dad. Well, what now?" And he says, "Well, get a job." He goes, "Okay." Well, 5 years later, 25, I give my dad a call again. He goes, "I don't know, get married." And what does Edward Norton's character say? He goes, "I can't get married. I'm a 30-year-old boy." Tyler's character dips the washcloth in the bathwater and puts it over those. He goes, "You know what? We're a generation raised by women. I'm starting to wonder if a woman is really the answer we need."
Which I did, you know, it's super relevant for today.
Yeah, I know, it is.
I heard that, and it kind of fits with a lot of things that's been circling around in my head for a very, very long time. And
Yeah.
it kind of it 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 expresses in my house specifically. And I see it more prominently as my kids grow older and older, because I'm exposed to other parents and other methods of raising kids, and it is absolutely disgusting. Is
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting. And we are talking about a person, me. I was raised by my mom because my parents were divorced since I was 10. So I was the critical years of my life, the teenage years of my life, I had an absentee dad. Not only were they divorced, there was a period of 4 years that I didn't see my dad at all.
Yep.
Zero.
Mhm.
And it is now, like 20 years, 30 years later, dawned on me how important it is. And it is very, very sad. But yeah, that kind of hit home. I kind of skipped through it because my brain is so fucked up. Yeah, I'm gonna push it to this. We're gonna talk about this scene, and we're gonna do a little stop. So,
Well,
Fight
it's
Club.
okay, Mephi. What's great is we can stop the review right now.
Okay. We can stop.
Well, you know why? Because the first rule is we're not supposed to talk about it. So
okay, so we can stop talking about it. Let's stop talking about
you
it.
made that lame joke early this week. I had to throw it back at you.
Okay, you're right. All right. So we will do this. This is fun stuff. Let's do some fun stuff, right? We have to do this. Bam. Oh, it's a little bit weird. Okay. So this is, I know you're supposed to guess this, but this is the quiz portion of our podcast where I show Kyle a bunch of posters that have their text removed, and he's supposed to guess which movie is this. So this is one of many different posters for this particular movie.
Yeah.
I did want to get this. In the original one, it says Fight Club on it, like a soap stamp.
Yep. And above it says
Which,
Mischief, Mayhem, Soap.
yeah, exactly. That was taken off. And there is a German version of this and a French version of this, which I saw, which I wanted to include, but never mind. Next.
Is that just the Addams Family? Because that's not Addams Family Values.
That is Addams Family, the original.
Okay.
Not the original, but the movie.
The movie. That's Birdman.
Great movie, by the way. when I showed this to Mrs. Meth, she was like, "Isn't that the Spider-Man Homecoming thing?" And I was like, "No, but it's close.
It's close.
It's close."
That's Child's Play.
Child's Play.
You know I hate that doll. You know that.
I did not,
That's
but I hate it
Metropolis.
too.
That's Metropolis.
That is not Metropolis. No.
That's not Metropolis?
No.
If not, then is that Brazil?
No. Good guess though.
Looks very similar. It can't be. It's not Darkman.
Not Darkman.
I am drawing a blank then.
Dark City.
Dark City.
Dark City. Very good movie, by the way.
That's the day after tomorrow.
Nope.
That's not the day after tomorrow? Huh.
Nope. Very similar poster. Very similar poster.
Poster. Is that Cloverfield?
Cloverfield.
That's not Mission Impossible. What is that?
See, I told you I'll find a few that are
yeah.
It's supposedly super simple when you see the title, but when you see it like this and you don't know what's coming, it's like, oh shit, what the hell is this?
Is that Tom Cruise?
That is Tom Cruise.
Okay, it is Tom Cruise. It's not Vanilla Sky. It's
not Vanilla Sky. It's earlier than that.
Oh God. No, drawing a blank.
The Firm.
Oh, I completely forgot that was a film.
I know.
Completely forgot that was a movie. That's Independence Day.
Very iconic.
Looper.
Nice. This one is I'm telling you right now, this one is a little bit tough.
Is that the Smoking Gun 33 1/3?
No. It's actually the Naked Gun 2.5.
Naked Gun 2.5.
Naked Gun 2.5. I know you were going.
When I say Smoking Gun, Naked Gun, yeah. Naked Gun 33 1/3 was the third one.
Yes, but
yeah.
This one has 3 bullets, so I wanted to like give you a little bit of a.
That's not just the Muppets movie.
That is the Muppets movie, the original one. The original one, yeah, with Richard Pryor and everything. This one is very obscure.
Wow.
Basically, the title took most of the sky in red lettering, I think. If it all helps you.
No, not in the slightest.
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, okay.
This stumps you? Wow.
No, it's not anger management. It's
no.
It's oh God, what was that? Kathy Bates was in it.
Yes. She was
we
very
just
naked
talked
in
about
it.
this last week.
We did talk about this last week.
About Schmidt?
About Schmidt.
Okay. Edward Scissorhands. That's something in New York.
That's true.
It's Snake Plissken I know that.
That's Snake Plissken. Yeah, that is Snake Plissken. Something from New York. Actually, Escape from New York.
Yeah. That's is that that's Apocalypse Now?
No.
No, that's Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
So what are the two? Is that Gremlins?
Gremlins.
Yeah. Hook. Labyrinth.
And last one.
Legend.
Really
underrated movie. It's a great movie.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Really good one.
I think that was going to be Stand By Me, but you said it was in red letters the way across, so I thought it was going to be a long title that was going to go.
No. It's
all the way down.
It's Stand Big by Small, Stand By Me and like Big Me, something like that. Okay. If I remember correctly, of course. Yeah.
Another good
Awesome.
Stephen King short story.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course, it is. It
Yeah.
is. A few interesting things about that. I just recently heard. All right, so we are in something that we're not supposed to talk about. This scene. So there's a long, like, it starts off with a long, sort of a one shot. It's not really one shot. So it actually follows Tyler Durden into the bowels of the bar. I
Mhm.
think originally it was supposed to be like a one shot in the movie where it's like in Goodfellas where they, do you know the scene where he takes Ray Liotta takes his uh what's her name from The Sopranos, he takes her down to the bar and he says
Oh,
hello to everybody, and
yeah.
the camera leaves them for a second and then they come back to them as
Back.
they get seated. That is a one shot camera roll. That's actually one of the longest ever one shots in a movie. That's
Yeah.
Goodfellas. In this one, it kind of follows him, but every time there's a like a turn, it actually breaks the shot and goes into like a different angle. That's me doing my moving thing, but yeah, and it goes from the start into down to the bowels, introducing the main people, and then it comes all around and comes back to Tyler Durden, to actually Ed Norton, and then Tyler Durden, where he does the rules, and they're
Yep.
very specific. So you'll do the rules. There's like 7 rules, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The rule is no shirt, no shoes. Is it two men to a fight? If you tap out, pass out, or knocked out, or someone just gives up, fight's over. One fight at a time, fellas. There's one other, and then I know. Then the 8th and final rule is if it's your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think there's only 7. I think that's it.
Okay.
So
I thought he said the 8th and final rule, or maybe it's the 7th.
it could be
Doesn't
8
matter.
rules.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So it's well, there we go. It's bloody as fuck. But when you surrender, you tap out, everybody leaves, sort of like MMA, where you're either tapped out, knocked out, or TKO'd. It's over. It's literally over. So it's very, very similar to like MMA rules rather than just boxing or taekwondo or whatever, or kickboxing. Um, this is where the expression of the masculinity comes into like absolute, like, this is male bravado, no women allowed, boys club, all that stuff. This is where you see it in your face. And it's not only the toxic masculinity part, but it's also the camaraderie, the brotherhood, where there's
Yes.
like, we fight to the absolute, not death, but we fight until somebody gives up, and it doesn't matter if you win or you lose. It's all about participation.
Yeah. There's a fight that comes up later that we gloss over. It's not a big deal. But what's important about that scene is that when the two of them, when they're done fighting, the first thing they do is they run up and they hug each other, because it's like,
yes, it's this one.
No, this isn't this one. It's
Okay.
another one with two like straight laced guys like this. This is kind of is explaining how it kind of worked at the beginning, especially with where he goes, well, the one guy is a maitre d' at the local food court. The other guy's one of his assistants. He goes like, you couldn't tell whether if he couldn't tell you whether you ordered pens and blue ink or blank ink, but you could tell that he knew what he was doing, and he was confident when he was beating the shit out of this other guy.
Yeah.
And it goes into after that, where he starts talking about how also I couldn't tell this person that they had a good fight because I wouldn't be talking to the same person. Who you are there is not who you are out in this other world, where you have to put on this facade. Here you can be who you really are. There you have to be this fake person. And
It's
dichotomy.
like sort of a here you can express, here you can be not judged.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you do. As soon as you take off your shoes, take off your shirt, you're just another guy. You're
Yep.
not a rich guy, you're not a poor guy, you're not white, you're not black. It's pretty like it's pretty diverse. They
Very,
had
yeah, it's
black people
very culturally
there,
diverse.
Asian, white. It's like all the colors of the rainbow. I didn't don't think anybody talked about religion in this. I don't think they even touched
No,
it, but
they never
it
touch on religion at all.
basically implies you're a man. You're just a man. It just doesn't matter where you come from, what's your
Yep.
background, whatever. You are here to fight, and there's no judgment. And they don't even, again, like I said, you don't even get judged if you lose. You just
No,
get up.
it's not
You
about
just
it.
get up and shake hands or hug each other and just leave and roll on to the next fight. That's it.
Yep.
That is it. Yeah. When the first signs of trouble is this. First, she encroached on his
Oh, you might want to bring up the screen there.
yeah,
enough.
I will.
There we go. Oh, yes.
So first, she encroaches on his meetings. Although they do reach to an agreement where they alternate things, but we just went by it because it's not super important.
It's not important at all.
It's not super important. But then she encroaches on his life with Tyler. And at this point, we're not aware that they're the same person, basically, but
spoilers, Meffy. We're supposed to talk about it at the end of the movie.
it doesn't matter. The whole point of the podcast is, okay, next week we're going to watch Fight Club. So everybody go watch Fight Club and come back and we'll talk about it.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, we think it's two different people. And what happens is Marla encroaches on the friendship, the male hetero friendship between Tyler and Ed Norton, and it bothers him that she has sex with Tyler, basically. Yeah. Even though it's like he doesn't want her, he wants to get rid of her and all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's it. He gets he like literally has a talk with her, and suddenly she's there fucking Tyler Durden, and he wakes up to this and yelling and screwing and everything. And basically, at this point, it's kind of weird, but at this point, it's like Superman and
Clark Kent.
Superman and Clark Kent, where Marla and Tyler can't be in the same room together, which is very confusing when you watch it for the very first time.
Well, and Tyler specifically tells him, he goes, so one thing you got to promise me, you don't talk to her about me ever. And
yeah,
and this is a scene where he specifically goes, I promise. He goes, you promise? I promise. You promise? I promise. Okay, that's 3 times you promise. If you ever mention her, if you mention me to her, we're done here. Everything here, we're done.
Yeah, I wanted to show you. It's exactly this point.
It always seems so odd where the first time you watch it, you're like, why is he so adamant about them never speaking about each other ever? Why is it so odd? When you know that they're the same person, you're like, oh, it understands because he can't reconcile it in his own mind yet.
So. Yeah, exactly. He's like, he basically doesn't know he's fucking her because he is so disassociated with his other self. Mm-hmm. He can't even comprehend it. So it's like, again, the thorn in his side encroaches on his life, but this time it's not in the meetings, it's actually in his own home or the home he shares with Tyler. So let's go.
I was going to say too, there was the joke that Marla said after they had sex, when the conversation between Tyler and Ed Norton, where he goes, oh, and the things that this woman said when she makes that really crude joke after they had sex when they're laying in bed together, the one that they cut was worse.
Can you say it even?
I think I can. If not, cut this out.
No, I can't cut this out. This is live.
Okay. I'll text it to you.
It's unlisted, but it's live.
Okay. I might just text it to you later because it's
No problem.
It's pretty bad.
Okay. So, moving on, Tyler kind of introduces our narrator to soap making, which I don't know if you know that, but Mrs. Meth, along with most of her major talents that she acquired in the past couple of years, is actually soap making, which, to be fair, is really good for my hands. I have very sensitive hands, and her soap is delicious. And she does not make it out of human.
I was gonna say, so she's adequate at breaking into liposuction clinics. Is that what you're telling me?
She does not make it out of human waste. By the way, I think that after this movie came out, a lot of clinics like this, I think they absolutely did an overhaul on how they keep their
of the security of the biohazard waste. Oh yeah.
I'm
definitely.
I am definitely sure that this specific movie actually caused a revamp of like plastic surgeons across the US and beyond on how they keep their waste. So they break into this place where they keep their biological waste, and this part is I wanted to get to this part, but it reached this part. It was like he tries to like hold it,
like he's trying to catch it.
You can't.
I think it was for kind of an instinct sort of thing.
I guess it's so disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, this part. And yeah, they go back to the house and they actually work on the soap, and that's where this part comes in. You'll see it in a second. Bam.
Yes, this is a really, really good point. This is a really good scene to bring up too, because what Tyler's almost monologue in this whole sequence really personifies his character, or really his inner workings and how he really views the world. The way how he says, our fathers never cared about this, and if our fathers are our models for God, what does it tell you about God? Because I don't know, because his hand's burning.
Yeah.
Well, you have to take in consideration that maybe God didn't want you. In all actuality, he probably hates you. And he goes, but that's not the worst thing. He goes, well, it's not. He goes, we don't need him.
That kind of, when I heard that, it was like, but you're not a nihilist. You're an atheist? It's really hard to pin down what the label is on what Tyler Durden is. Maybe it's just because it's a personification of a part of Ed Norton. Like, we all have that part where it's like, fuck the system and fuck God, or if you're a religious person, is how did God do this? Let me pray and get the answer. But yeah, that's a part of our rebellious nature as human beings. Most of us have it suppressed. Some of us don't. But this part is like, when you're in pain, this comes up. Not necessarily physical pain, but it could be emotional pain. Is, I'm so hurting right now. Oh God, where are you to take this pain away? That's what I took from this, because he's not necessarily talking about God or religion. He's talking about that part of our brain where you literally is anti everything, especially when you're deeply in pain.
And again, you're absolutely right. And it's about embracing it too, not being afraid to really just kind of revel in it. And that's why, again, he goes, well, you can either reach that water and make the pain worse, or you can sit there and take it, and I'll pour the the vinegar on it to neutralize the
Yeah.
chemical burn. And he goes,
Is
because he even goes through the motions where he tries to utilize the things that he learned in those support groups to do that guided meditation. He
yeah.
tried to like, but all I can think of the words were searing flesh.
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes like,
Exactly.
no, this is a moment. You're supposed to live in this moment. You're supposed to embrace what life is. And that comes up in a later scene too that will when we get there.
Exactly.
But it's all he's trying to say, like, you have to live your life no matter how bad it is. You have to embrace it. It could be the worst pain ever. You still have to understand that this is your life and you have to embrace it. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. Don't deal with it the way that he says those dead people do. Talking about the people in the support groups. But
Which is a great
it's,
transition.
yes, it's all anti-establishment, and it's all also just embracing life. And this too, again, this is him. He gets to meet Bob again, and the first conversation they have when they're talking, he goes, "Well, are you still with Forever Men Together, that particular cancer group?" And he goes, "No, I found something so much better now." And he goes, "Oh, it's great. What is it?" And Bob, the first thing he says is, "The first rule is I'm not supposed to talk about it."
And what Ed Norton is like, look at my face.
He goes, "I'm a member."
Look at my face.
Yeah.
I know, you know, we know, I know, you know, we know, but we can't talk about it because it's not allowed.
And you see, that's the great thing too, because if you look at it from the wider perspective, all those men joining the Fight Club, they're using that as their way to get their own sense of catharsis. And Bob, who is in that support group for testicular cancer, found Fight Club, and then he went away from going to that support group to going to Fight Club instead, because he basically changed the way he was coping with his own pain and his own emotional grief by acting out physically and aggressively. And again, it goes back to that toxic masculinity, the concept of that just being pervasive throughout the film.
Exactly. And one thing I don't understand is, in this dark film, right? How come we don't see Bob fight without his shirt? Think about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bad prosthetics in movies doesn't work in fighting situations.
Yeah,
it doesn't work in fighting situations. So we get to this part where it's sort of an escalation of that scene with Ed Norton. I see it as an escalation. Why? Because if we're not supposed to talk about it, how come Bob knows about it? And we get this scene where we're back underneath the bar. He's like, Tyler says, "Oh, I see a lot of new faces. That means a lot of people are breaking the first rule of Fight Club." Yeah. So it's like, you're not supposed to talk about it. But again, the first couple of rules is like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. Do you know that line? It's from Monty Python. It's nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very, it's not a male thing, because women do it too. But it's sort of if something is good,
you want to share it.
Word of mouth is a much, much deeper, it's sort of it's a better advertisement than advertisement itself.
Mm-hmm.
And advertisers know that to get a really good product or a really good thing or a popular thing, you can advertise from here to infinity. You need those people on the ground going word of mouth. You know that thing? It's really good. I've tried it. So the first couple of rules of Fight Club are basically non and void, because the whole point is it's the mystery of it is what entices you to ask the second question. That's why it's 2 rules. If you think about it, I don't know. The first rule is don't talk about it, but I know you're going to break it. So the second rule is don't talk about it. It actually makes people ask and then ask again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not supposed to talk about, oh, come on. No. I'm really not supposed to talk about it, but I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and then also too, it's genuine human nature to rebel against a structured set of rules, and him being so anti-establishment and any kind of anti-authoritarian, him putting that rule into place and then telling people, no, 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 you can't, is sort of him kind of again, that wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're not supposed to, but, you got a couple of buddies at work,
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of wait, is it the part where the mafia guy comes in? No.
Yes, and this is actually
Yes, I think this is it.
This is one of the most often quoted lines that Brad Pitt has from the film, where he does his line where, well, I guess, I see in Fight Club, the greatest people of our generation, people, slaves working at gas stations, pumping gas, slaves in white collars. We were all told that we would be millionaires, movie gods, and rock stars, and but we won't, and we're slowly learning that fact, and we're really pissed off. And that's when Lou comes down the steps.
Yeah, and he beats the shit out of Brad Pitt. Oh, Tyler Durden. We'll call him Tyler Durden. He beats the shit out of him. And one of the most like disturbing things, that every time he gets like knocked the fuck out, he laughs. He brushes it off. It's like, I can take this pain. You will not beat me, because I can just laugh it off. And that just enrages more and more the mob guy, who is basically the owner of the bar. I'm calling him the mob guy, but because he comes with a hired gun. No owner of a bar comes in with a hired gun.
His name's Lou. He says it there. He even says it. I'm fucking Lou. Who the fuck are you?
Exactly. So after the beating, Lou leaves, defeated, by the way, because you can't beat Tyler. Then he sits around, and it's like 3 frames after this, he starts giving away assignments. Yep, no. At this point, he doesn't give away assignment, but he says, I have an assignment for everybody. Mm-hmm. Push someone. Just try to disrupt someone's life once. Just to pick a fight and lose the fight. Mm-hmm. Pick a fight and lose the fight on purpose. Make someone so incredibly angry to kick the shit out of you and lay down, take it. Like I took it from the mob guy. You need to take it from a random guy on the street. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you see a lot of the members, which we'll see later. So a lot of members that will have faces and will actually converse. So Bob, Goodman, yes, for instance, he tries to pick a fight, but he can't. He tries to pick a fight, but he can't. But there's this dude who comes up much later in many other cases. He tries to get these 2 guys, and Mrs. Meth said it. People are adverse to actually fight somebody else. A lot of people will just brush it off. It's like people don't want to get into fights. They just don't.
Well, the narrator even brings that up, where Edward Norton, he specifically says most people, normal people, will do absolutely anything to avoid a fight.
Right. He actually says it, but she said it too. It's like, he's right. It's like, no, nobody really wants to get into a fight unless they're enraged. And the fact that this guy, I'm not sure if I can actually pinpoint it. So this guy is like a car salesman, and he picks up a fight with the car guy, who later on you see him in the Fight Club, but I don't think he has any lines.
Yep.
So
there's a scene with the priest.
And this is like for me, it was because you don't see the priest get converted. The priest is supposed to turn the other cheek and not pick the fight. And you don't see the fight. I don't think you see the fight, right?
You do see the fight. He's one of the guys that's hugging the other guy in one of the next upcoming.
No. I don't mean in this particular scene. You don't see the priest raises his hands, but later on
he punches him in the face. No, he punches him in the face in this scene.
Really?
Yeah, because he walks up back to him. He knocks the Bible from his hand and sprays water on it.
It's really hard to pinpoint. Yep, but yeah,
at that scene.
This is where he puts the thing. So and he just stands there and he just punches him. He doesn't actually like mega punches him, but he hits him.
Yeah, and
But
you can tell it was the first time he's ever struck at anybody, because as soon as he strikes him, he pulls back and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he kind of goes back a little bit because the guy in the jumpsuit kind of goes at him for a little bit and steps back, and then the priest starts.
But in retrospect, that is the one freebie, and the next one you pay, because then you go down to the bar and he's there, no shirt, like totally into the fight, and then the fight finishes and they hug it out. So I'm not sure if I can. Oh no.
Yep.
Oh, this
is
absolutely one of the most powerful scenes here.
Yep.
Where go ahead.
I was in a scene earlier when they're in the bathtub scene that we mentioned before. Yeah. Tyler asked Edward, who's like, "Who would anybody in the world you could fight? Who'd you fight?" And he goes, "I'd probably fight my boss," and this is his boss.
Yeah.
So when this scene came about, the way that it's done is basically he tells his boss, "Well, I know all of these things about this major car manufacturer, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to keep all these secrets. I'm not going to call the Federal Trade Commission. I call the FTC and tell them that, oh, all of these cars should have been recalled and you're going to lose millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be an outside consultant and I'm going to keep these secrets and you're going to pay me to keep my mouth shut." And he goes, "Who are you, you petty little shit? You're fired." He goes, "No, I don't think so." So basically, Edward Norton just starts beating the shit out of himself.
Exactly.
And the whole punch,
point.
Yeah. He says, he goes, "For some odd reason, I was reminded of my first fight with Tyler."
Exactly. And that's a foreshadowing if you know what's going on. But if you don't, it's like, what? It's like, okay, he's like the first time he got punched by Tyler, which is himself. But not only that, this scene is like, throughout the story that you get in the Fight Club, you see the escalation, because you see very, very short scenes of him coming to work with a bruise here, a bruise there, like a black eye or something like that. And his boss is like, "What is going on with you?" He asks him several times in several different scenes, "What is going on? And why don't you do your job?" And there's a point where he's on the phone. Ed Norton is on the phone. And he's like talking on the phone. I think he was even talking to Marla or something. And the guy comes in and he was like, he's not looking at him like I look at you. He looks at him through the eyebrows where he's like, it's a menacing type of look where you see his demeanor already change to a more aggressive, predatory like thing. Because when you lower your head and look through your eyebrows, it's a sign that you are becoming way more aggressive.
Yeah. And that was also that scene where happens earlier. We don't have to go back, but his boss actually brings him up a printed out sheet where it says the first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club, because and the second rule of Fight Club is do not talk. Do you know what this is? Yeah. And he takes it and he goes, "Well, what I should tell you is the man who wrote that is dangerous. He may be someone you know. Maybe come into work one day with an armor-laid AR-15, pumping round after into colleagues and coworkers. This may have been someone you worked for years, someone very close to you." He grabs the paper and he goes, "Or maybe you shouldn't bring me every piece of trash that you pick up." And that's what Marla calls him. And he goes, "Compliance liability."
Yeah. Exactly. So he beats the living crap out of him. The boss calls, he literally calls security to take them off the premises because he's fired. Sort of a thing that you like mentioned in a private conversation about getting fired in the US. And I told you, yeah, I watch that in movies all the time. Does that really happen? And you said, "Oh, well, fuck yeah."
Yeah, it does all the time.
So they go in and he begs, "Oh, please don't hit me again." Yeah. And the boss is like, what the fuck?
he has all the cards because there's no way around it because it looks like well he just lost his mind and beat the living hell out of this guy, so he has to really comply to his demands or he's gonna lose his job and lose everything,
Exactly.
especially with the two
Exactly.
witnesses. So it's like
Yeah.
that's how we got corporate sponsorship for Fight Club.
Yeah. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Yep.
Exactly. So it keeps on going. And oh yeah, because it's becoming like a well-known secret, they go out and just for fun, they just hit cars to make the alarm go off. Not really break the cars, just make them beep because anarchy.
Yeah, and it's completely contingent on which car too, because these were their homework assignments. It's
Yes,
always about
exactly.
causing kind of a little bit of mischief
A little
and
bit of mischief.
mayhem.
Yes,
Which,
mayhem, which comes in later. And this is
yeah,
where Ed Norton kind of discovers, oh, well, there's not only this Fight Club, there's chapters. Oh, there's one in Atlanta, or there's one
yep,
in this. And he still doesn't make the connection because we've already been told Ed Norton keeps on flying to different places because that's his job.
mm-hmm.
He still does his job and then goes at night and does the Fight Club because that is the thing that replaced the meetings, and that's the thing that makes him go to sleep. So
There's actually a little bit of side commentary too, because the next car that they walk by was that at the time it was the new Volkswagen Bug that everyone hated, and so they both scoff and they both hit it.
Oh, right.
That was actually David Fincher, the director's inside joke, because he hated that car. He hated that car.
And we reached and the whole point of the movie is this escalation, the escalation of what's going on. Now, this is very stereotypical. I think what's the town? Is it Chicago? Right? I'm completely drawing blank. Which town is this?
No, they're on the West Coast. They never actually really say.
They don't say it, right? They say the other places where there's Fight Clubs
because it's where all
actually
it's where all the major credit card company buildings are actually they're located. So I know it's somewhere on the West Coast, but I can't remember the name of the city. It doesn't matter. but yeah. But,
so they go into this bodega or whatever, which is stereotypically run by a Asian man. Yeah. And Tyler has a gun. And he goes into this spiel where the whole point is to free the guy without actually doing any sort of Fight Club thing, right? So at the point of a gun, he literally extracts the deepest desires of this guy.
Yep. And essentially his name's Raymond K. Hassel.
Yeah.
I know that too.
Which is funny.
1F. He goes, well, how do you know it's a little shitty apartment in the basement? Because they only give letters to shitty apartments in the basement.
Yeah, that was.
What this? An expired community college ID. What'd you study? Stuff. Were the midterms hard?
Exactly. So he studied some
biology, and he wanted to be a
biology. Exactly. But he didn't really want to.
On your way to becoming a veterinarian, you will be dead.
Exactly.
I'm keeping your wallet because of it. And then he runs off. And Edward Norton's character then rightfully freaks out, like, what the hell was that all about, man? That wasn't fucking funny. And he goes, well, tomorrow his breakfast will be the best tasting meal. It'll taste better than any meal you and I will ever have. He got basically a new lease on his life. And Edward Norton's character goes, it made sense in a Tyler sort of way. And he pulled back the cylinder of the gun and it wasn't loaded to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. The whole point was, I can't really reach that exact frame, but he just looks, he holds the gun and he's not he's never held a gun before, or at least this part of his personality never held a gun before, and he pulls it back, and he's like, it seems like it's light, so he opens the thing, and the 6-shooter is completely empty. It's like, oh, and it dawns on him what just happened.
Yep.
And it's a super interesting. Right. Next, it escalates even further with Marla. And here is this is the epitome of the dissociation between Tyler and Ed Norton. Because Tyler is literally waiting in the staircase going to the basement. And she's talking to Ed as if last night they had the best sex ever. And he's already has dream. No, that was the first one, right?
Where he had the dreams.
The dreams.
Yeah, that was
of
the
them.
first time. Yeah,
that was the first time. And this time she talks to him like they talked last night about something, and he's just sitting there, like completely oblivious. It's like, why are you like this?
Why are you here? Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you treating me like this? Last night you were. She literally, she feels like it's somebody else. On her perspective, it's supposedly the same guy. For him, is like, what do you want from me? You're fucking that guy, but he doesn't say it. He doesn't say it.
Yep.
Anything to add? No.
And that scene too. Before that,
this is down in the basement
with Tyler and the Edward Norton's character, where his real kind of obsession, Tyler's obsession with Marla, makes sense because he actually says, well, he's using basically kind of dish cleaner as deodorant. He puts it on a washcloth and he's scrubbing it under his armpits.
Yeah.
He tells her, goes, well, you know what? I'll give this at least for Marla. She's at least trying to hit bottom. And he goes, what? And Edward Norton's character says, what? And I'm not. And Tyler immediately quotes back, sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken.
Exactly. And that's, I thought of it as like a very Brad Pitt thing to say. I don't know why it fits him.
It seems like he'd say something like that.
It seems like something Brad Pitt would say. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he goes down to the basement and is like, what are all these bunks doing here?
Yep.
And this is like the further escalation of what is going on around Ed Norton, as if he's oblivious. He is oblivious. At least this side of his personality is to this. And that's where he basically discovers or finds out there is a thing called Project Mayhem.
Yep. Real quick, there's one thing we did kind of gloss over just a little bit. We don't have to go back. I'll just cover it real quick. At one point in time, the detectives that are actually on the arson unit that are actually doing the investigation on his blown up condo.
I skipped that part. Yeah.
He specifically tells him like, oh, the Freon that was used to break the lock on your door. And he goes, and the dynamite that was used to blow up your condo left a thing of ammonium acetate, which he goes, that means it's homemade. It's like, do you have any enemies? And Tyler in the background is going, just tell them what they want to hear. Just tell him you blew it all up.
Yeah, exactly. But and at one point he was like, he asked the detective, wait, you think I did this?
Yeah.
And the detective was like, no. Like, why would he suspect him? Because he came back from a flight, technically.
We're just going to need you to give us a call if you're going to leave town.
Exactly. So what happens is he's like, what's with these bunks? It's like, okay, it's the next part of the project. It's like, what project? And he just skips by, and this guy stands outside. And all they do is they tell him, well, if you can stand here for 3 days without quitting, you'll be allowed in. You'll be part of the club. The other club. Anyways.
Basically, like if the applicant's young too young, old too old, fat too fat, do whatever you can to berate the living hell out of them, It's like breaking them down psychologically, like the military does.
We'll just switch over to this so everybody will know what we're talking about. So he just stands outside the door, and he's supposed to stand there all the time. I'm guessing he's not supposed to sleep or anything. And all they do is just braid, sort of a frat house hazing, I would call.
Well,
It's not
it's like
something
the,
that it's not something that is common over here, but on in the States side, it's
States,
very common. Yeah, but it's very like, oh, you're too fat to get in here. Don't get in here. You're too stupid. You got all that stuff, and it's all verbal. They don't hit him. They don't. I think. Do they spit on him? They don't.
He does hit him too.
It does hit him too. Okay.
Yeah.
But nothing severe, nothing too severe.
Yeah.
So as soon as the 3 days are up, it's like, all right, go in, come on, let's go.
Yep.
And already you see Bob on like the next part is like Bob is there. It's like this part is like, all right, 3 days, pop, let's go, get in. You're a part of the crew now. And Bob is already there. It was like, you're too fat. And he tells him, you're too fat, and go. And I think Ed Norton tells him, what are you doing here?
No. He goes to he picks up his little knapsack and his little sleeping bag there. Goes to pick it up, starts going down the steps, and Ed Norton goes and grabs him and kind of that's the sympathetic side of his character, if you want to put it that way, where he's telling him, no, Bob, it's all part of it. You're supposed to deal with this. It's something you overcome to be part of this. So just stick with it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So they stick with it. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm trying to push us through.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I was just gonna say, Mr. Blonde, who that's played by, right?
Yeah, that's Jared Leto.
Yep. You got
that's Jared Leto. That's it's your Joker for you. Never mind.
Not my Joker.
Yeah, not my Joker too.
And they have the big issue with Project Mayhem where they blow up the big smiley face in the side of the building.
Yes.
As one of their first things, and everyone's confused when Ed Norton's character comes in and he sees that on television. He's furious, and all the other guys from Project Mayhem are standing around like, they start laughing because they're like, "Wait, are you fucking with us? You told us to do this. This is supposed to be our whole thing, right?"
Yeah, that's why aren't this what you've gathered us all here for? Isn't that it? And
the setup for this is they have
is the chief of police.
Yeah.
The whole dinner is like, chief of police, we're going to take care of this, blah, blah, blah. And they literally corner him. They literally corner him in the bathroom. Everybody's there like a maitre d' or something like that. And they corner him and they talk to him and they threaten him. And it's like, we will do this. You'll do you, but we will continue doing this because blah, 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 consumerism, capitalism, blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's more the thing where he goes, well, you can't stop us. Like, we're everywhere. We pick up your trash. We make your meals. We guard you while you sleep. And his last line is, do not fuck with us. And what they were going to do is they were going to cut his balls off. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's actually it's threatening his manhood, but not really hurting him, because they need him. Sort of like you need a survivor to tell the story of there's nobody surviving. Get what I'm saying?
Well, and also he's the chief of police, so he can go ahead and just avert any kind of investigations, because that would be rightfully terrifying. And he knows that they're everywhere. If they could get to him there, they could get to him anywhere.
Exactly. So yeah, let's do this, and I'm going to switch over to the next scene. Is that the scene where he's no?
It should be the next scene where the big one is when he beats Mr. Blonde, Jared Leto's character, to death to the hospital.
Yes, basically. Yes. I'm going to switch just to this. He basically after they move from the thing, he sees Tyler kind of hugs Jared Leto's. They don't say his name, right? Does he
No,
have a name?
they called him Blondie.
The Blondie. So he
Yeah.
sees Tyler, kind of hugs Blondie, and he's sort of jealous. I would say I saw jealousy in the way he looked at them. It's like, oh, he gives them more attention. Where's my attention?
Yeah.
And they face each other, and he beats the shit out of him. Ooh,
Yep.
I got a message.
And
Never
actually,
mind.
while they were when they were leaving, how they were all leaving the banquet hall after he grabs them, after he rubs like Tyler's just rubbing Blondie's head right there.
There.
Edward Norton's character actually says, "I am Jack's inflamed sense of what?
I don't
Jealousy."
remember. Jealousy. So it literally tells you he's jealous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he enacts on his rage
His-
with this.
Yep.
He breaks his face, his eye, and his teeth. If you notice, he just breaks everything, this dude. And no retaliation, of course.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And then after that, he asks him, like, "Where'd you go, Psycho?" And he goes, "I wanted to destroy something beautiful."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's kind of dark.
It's very, very dark. It's very, very dark.
And
So
the next scene is really when they really revel in more of Tyler's philosophy as well of like of living in the moment, and you have to really understand that this is your life and you have to take it moment by moment. You can't sit back and wallow in whatever you can. But this scene, especially when he starts swerving, they start having that tete-a-tete with each other about how it's almost his psyche trying to reconcile the fact that it's like, why are you part of my brain abandoning me? I don't. Why are you now with this guy? And why wasn't I part of Project Mayhem and all of this? And there are two guys in the back too that were one of the first guys that were in Project Mayhem, and they're all going, "You do not ask questions," and it's just building up Edward Norton's character's rage as they're talking.
And all you see from the guys who were in the Fight Club, they were supposed to have some sort of a release. They become from one sort of we'll call it an automaton at work. They become a different kind of automaton at the Project Mayhem, which was supposed to be like this, a narco, whatever, anti-capitalist thing. But they're still a soldier. They're still an automaton that literally has structure and rules and even rigid rules of no talking and no questioning, no nothing. So they become from one sort of a subject of an authoritarian to another subject of an authoritarian. And in this scene, Tyler is like, you live your moment. So he lets go of the wheel and happens what happens, and they get into a car crash.
Well, and he asks the characters too in the back. He goes, "Well, what would you like to do before you die?" And they both have an answer right off the bat. One goes,
"Yeah,
I wanted to paint a self-portrait. Wanted to build a house." They both knew, they knew they were going to be asked this question, and so he just lets go. And Edward Norton's still trying to grab onto the wheel, and he goes, "Just let go, man. Just let go." Exactly. They have that car accident, and when they get out of there, Tyler's first words when he gets out are, "We just had a near-life experience."
Exactly. Not a near-death experience, a near-life experience, because you feel your life, because you know that when you leave the wheel, something bad is going to happen. Rather, you're either going to crash into somebody or just crash the car, and you're going to feel something icky at the end of it. And when I say icky, I do mean terrible. All right. So this is where he pulls him out. They have to literally swing the car to pull him out, and then it's like a near life experience, and super like, oh yeah, it's like that's his whole point in the entire conversation. Sort of a carpe diem type deal, I would say.
Yeah, most definitely.
Right. So before we continue, because we're going on, and today's episode is really long, what we'll do is do a stop. We'll do something fun.
All right.
And at this point, we will go back to our game. Which movie is better? Which movie is better? So we're pitting two movies together, and we'll see which one is better. Which one is better, Ocean's 13 or 310 to Yuma? Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen both films. Unfortunately, they're completely different, and I like them both for different reasons. I'm a sucker for a heist film, so I'm going Ocean's 13.
I'm going Ocean's 13 because Yuma is boring.
Yeah.
I love Christian Bale. I love Russell Crowe, not in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love heist films, by the way. That's like
I do too. I do too.
Oh, right. Karate Kid.
Armageddon on. Yeah. It's just so easy. High Tension or Cocktail. I haven't seen Cocktail in a long while. I don't think I've seen High Tension.
Short synopsis is this woman's kind of being chased by a killer. In the same way, it's very. Do you mind if I spoil it? It's
no.
It's not a great movie.
Is that Anne Heche?
Imagination. No, it's not. It's a Friends actress that looks very similar to her.
Right. I'm gonna pick that. Breakfast Club or Bridget Jones's Diary. A lot of people love Bridget Jones's Diary. I hate that movie.
Don't you forget about me, because I won't forget about the Breakfast Club. That's for damn sure.
Daredevil or Terminator 3. Both.
Which is the bigger pile of shit?
Both suck balls. They suck balls so much. Ben Affleck said that it's a crying shame that this movie came out in the way it came out. And he loves Marvel and he loves Daredevil. Mm-hmm. Like he loves the comic book Daredevil. That's why he specifically wanted to be Daredevil more than even Batman. Because he's a Marvel guy, not a DC guy.
I have to give it to Terminator because Daredevil almost killed any Marvel universe.
Yep. I agree. The Boonstock Saints and Class Crusade. Is there even a fight here? Because that's my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
I have to go. I have to agree with that because the Boondock Saints is still like it's a
1999 movie. It's a 1999 movie.
I would say, have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. A long time ago.
It's like one of Willem Dafoe's best performances in his entire career, and that is saying something. But no, definitely I have to go with the last one.
I would say, yeah, that is one of his most, one of the great ones, yeah. But yeah, no, there's no contest. Stand by Me. Pinocchio or The Graduate? We're going way back. Have you seen The Graduate?
Yes, and I have to go with The Graduate because, well, Mrs. Robinson. I mean,
yes, but also I have a mild dislike for Disney movies. Zoolander or The Big Lebowski? Big Lebowski.
Zoolander's great, but it does not touch it.
Nope. Hollow Man and Space Jam. I vehemently hate Hollow Man. I don't like Hollow Man.
We can give that one to Space Jam because I really don't like that because
I really don't like Space Jam, by the way. I really don't like what they did with the story. It's basically a big commercial for Michael Jordan and Nike.
Yeah.
But I hate Hollow Man. It's just not a good movie.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
All right. So Requiem for a Dream. Deep dark movie. Jared Leto was in it. Jennifer Connelly is in it. Big boosh. Never mind.
It's actually I think it might be Aronofsky's best film.
Arguably, I think, yeah. I don't remember the synopsis exactly, but I remember being really into it. It's super dark. It's
basically about three kids that end up getting hooked on heroin and their rapid downfall, essentially.
Fargo, one of One of the best movies from the Coen brothers.
Yeah, Fargo was great. I have to
I
give it to
watched
Requiem though. I love Requiem so much. I
I
love that
watched
movie.
this movie in the cinema, not on VHS and not on DVD.
Wow.
I actually watched this in the cinema. I had a friend who his mother was a TV director, and he was a very artsy kid. So we when I lived in Tel Aviv with my mom, right above me, those were the neighbors, right?
Mhm.
So he was the same kid as my age, so they kind of paired us together. He was my first friend when I moved into Tel Aviv, and he studied at the arts school. We have a dedicated art school in Tel Aviv from the ages of like first grade up to I think it's up to the ninth grade or the 10th grade, and then they go for regular high school.
Okay.
He was the one who dragged me to watch this movie. He said my mom said it's a good movie. We should watch it. We went to watch it. I didn't like it at first. Got older, watched it again. Brilliant movie.
Yeah.
I would go with Darren Aronofsky though. It's hard. It's super hard. Yuma or Men in Black? I go for Men in Black, by the way.
I think I do too, just because it's
a lot more fun.
Movie.
It's a lot more fun.
It's probably Will Smith's best film.
No, it's not.
Oh, sorry, I meant comedic film.
Comedic movie, yes.
Yes.
Home Alone.
I think Ali was his best film.
Ooh. No, I still think the Road to Happiness, The Way to Happiness,
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, no, that was a great.
That is by far for me his best film.
Oh yeah, that was a great film
really tough watch for me every single time.
Oh,
Home
yeah,
Alone or American Gangster. I do love me some Denzel, but damn, that cute fucking Macaulay Culkin kid.
I have to say, for its cultural impact, even though he should have killed those men several times over. Home Alone.
Yeah, me too.
The Wet Bandits would have died.
Yes. Last one for this series, and we'll go back to the review because time is getting super short.
Yeah.
Jay or Underworld? I know my pick.
I'm gonna.
You go ahead first. I would go Jay and Silent Bob just because it's way more fun. I was never into the Underworld movies. None of them. I've seen every single one.
Yeah.
I've seen every single one. I'm just not into it. All right. Cool. We will continue this pick next week. And we are off.
I thought one of them was Panic Room. Do you know who also directed Panic Room? David Fincher.
David Fincher.
Who directed Fight Club.
And Seven? Did he direct Seven?
Mm-hmm.
As well, with Brad Pitt, which was an awesome. So we move past and we go to this point where it escalates even further. We have our priest over there.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, who knows? That's the priest right there.
That's the priest right there. And they're making soaps. / bombs / soaps. And this is a point where Ed Norton is literally walking through his house and he sees all the different, I'm not sure I can grab exact. So everybody's making soaps, but not making soaps.
Mm-hmm. And also this is where Tyler had left and he thought that Tyler was gone for forever, where just like Tyler just disappeared.
Yeah, because
he still thinks Tyler's a person.
Yeah, it's more of he doesn't understand it, but it's more of a merger between his two personalities for this particular moment, but he still is very dissociative from everything that happens around him. And everybody's dealing with Project Mayhem. Everybody has a job. Everyone is there. I'm not sure I can grab. Oh, so there's Marla coming in, but I before that. There we go. So there's the plans on the floor, and then it it becomes he goes down to I think it was the basement or somewhere in the house where there's folders, and on the folders there's
The addresses.
the addresses, but he doesn't make we don't see the connection just yet, not just yet, but everything is planned, everything is settled, everything is orderly, like at an army or a job, but it doesn't compute just yet. Not for Ed Norton. It does for everybody else. Everybody else knows what they're doing and who Ed Norton is, but not him. And there's no Tyler around.
And in that way too, the way that you mentioned how it became how they were kind of considered drones or just automatons in their previous life in the corporate sector, then they became kind of free when it came to the Fight Club side, and now this is the absolute other side of it where it's a militant authoritarian.
Yes.
Much more really into looking over them. And they even use the same kind of breaking you down mentally tricks, because there are people in the background going like, we're all the same decomposing filth. We are nothing. You're not a unique special snowflake. Like, you're not an individual anymore. You're part of this, and that's all you are.
Yes. We are all individuals. Remember
not
that?
Individuals.
Yeah. We are all individuals.
Yeah.
So Marla comes in for, I think this one is the last time they meet. And
the last time before he comes back after the shocking revelation where he finds out that
so
he is.
It's the last time that they meet in the scenario where he is completely unaware of Tyler, and they go over the same argument again, and she literally says, sometimes there's this and sometimes there's that, and I don't understand you. What do you want from me? You want me to come here or you want me to leave? You want us to fuck or you want us to just leave? What do you want from me? Well, and he also brings up the meetings, and she said, well, yeah, I'm still going through the meetings, all of them, even though we split the days.
That was the previous scene.
Oh, that was the previous. Okay.
Yeah. This is the one where she comes up and he flat out asks her, what are you doing here? Tyler went away. Tyler's gone. And of course, to her, it's like, what do you mean? You're Tyler. I don't get this.
Yeah. So she's completely confused. And that is I think this part is the last clue of the movie trying to tell us these two individuals you think are two individuals, those people are the same. And Marla's the one who keeps telling us, what do you're like, the dichotomy between you two. It's like, you're the same guy. Why are you treating me like this on one day and the other day, or different hours of the same day? Why are you like this?
Yeah.
And he still does. It's just a clue to give us to tell us it's the same guy, but we don't get it, at least on the first viewing.
And then there's a couple more clues that come up after, when he starts trying to go after Tyler after this scene. He hears everybody, this big ruckus, and he goes downstairs to find out that one of the missions that they went on Project Mayhem. And he said, we got 2 gunshot victims, and there's
you see a ruckus, and he looks to the side, and everybody's rushing into the kitchen.
And they bring a big body up on the table, and it's Bob. And they're like, they shot Bob. They shot him in the head. So Bob got killed.
Yeah, Bob got. I'm not gonna show it, but he that's Bob right there, and he is literally yelling at them. It's like, what the fuck were you doing? What's wrong with you people?
Of course, you're running around in mass blowing things up. Of course, you're going to get shot at. And Mr. Blonde goes, you don't ask questions. And he goes, well, let's take the body and we bury him in the garden. And this is when he shows that he still has that kind of sympathy in him, Edward Norton's character, where he goes, no, we're not doing that. This is Bob. He was my friend. He was a person. And he was like, but everyone's like, we don't have names in Project Mayhem. We just are Project Mayhem. And he goes, then the guy, if you go just a couple seconds in the future, he goes, oh, I get it. In life, a member of Project Mayhem doesn't have a name but in death he has a name, and his name is Robert Paulson, and that becomes
Yeah.
kind of a mantra for
Yeah, it's
all the people in Project Mayhem.
and that guy says it, that this guy right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's like inferring from what Ed Norton was trying to say, and you get the mantra, of course, and Ed Norton's like, no, you don't get it. Like, stop. They can't stop. It's the reprogramming. It's the his name is Robert Paulson, and they like whisk his body away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves Ed Norton like standing there, still with his like confused face. How did it get from this to this
And
so quickly?
That's when he runs away and tries to find Tyler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a big scene, and yeah,
he's going to all these different locations.
Yeah, he's going to this because he was looking through the plane tickets, the plane stubs, and it's like, oh, he went to this and this and this, and he literally discovers all the different. He knew there were chapters of Fight Club, but now he discovers they're all doing the same project. They're all into it. And it's like, and everybody's like, sir? Everybody's calling him sir everywhere. And he still doesn't get it.
Yeah. Well, and he even mentions the fact that he goes, no matter what city I flew into, no matter what town I went into, no matter how many bars were around, I knew what bar to go to find a Fight Club.
Yeah. So just an example. Two straight-laced guys, again, black, white, doesn't matter. They're both with ties. They're both with this, but the distinct bruises, he knows where it doesn't. In the story, is like it's close to where you actually know what's going on, but you're still don't know. And I'm talking just the first viewing. You still don't actually know because those two guys are like, oh, it's like he's like, nobody asks questions and sir and all that stuff.
And then he comes up to one bar. One guy tells him, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I never met him before, sir. Gives a little wink. Yeah. And then the last one where he goes to a bar where they're in a back room and they're saying his name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. And as soon as he walks in the bar, everyone dead silence.
Yeah. And then he's in this hotel. In this hotel, you can see me. You can see the little screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
When I'm flipping forward, can you see that?
It was right before then where he's talking to the bartender.
He's talking to Marla. No, this is the restaurant.
Yeah, so when he's talking to the bartender at the restaurant, he goes, "Are you the one in the full headgear?" He goes, "Are you sure this is not a test?" And he goes,
"This is not a test. This is not a test. Just tell me the truth."
No, you're Tyler Durden, and he shows him the license card. He goes, "You're the one who gave me this." That was when the first big shocking revelation comes in. Then he goes to the hotel, and that's when his whole world.
That's when he talks to Marla, and it's basically a conversation about nothing because she calls him Tyler on the phone. Well, she calls him Tyler.
He's like, "Have you ever had sex before?" And he goes, "What's?" And he actually finally asks her, "What's my name?" He goes, Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden. You fucking crank. What's going on? I'm coming over there. And that's when
everything falls into place.
Tyler goes,
and
you broke your promise. You told me you wouldn't tell her about me.
Exactly. This is where everything falls into place, and everything, like all the escalation, all the things, like, oh wait, this is like, okay, what's going on now? And he tells him he's got a whole spiel of what's going on, what's this and what's that. You want to comment on that?
This is, I think, probably one of Brad Pitt's best performances. Reading Polinick's book, he actually wrote a full segment on how Brad Pitt told him, he was like, I am so happy that you gave me this role. This is going to be the role of my career. when he got this role. But his whole speech on how he is actually they're the same person is, well, people do this stuff every day. They talk to themselves. They see themselves how they want to be. They don't have the courage that you have to just run with it. And then it starts showing the scenes back where this is when he had the police chief.
Exactly. And later
and
on,
it's actually him. And you have the Project
Yeah.
Mayhem scene where he's the one who's hanging over the side of the building. He's the one who's building all the bunks in the basement. He goes,
it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly the points. So I'll just throw this and I'll get to, oh yeah, this one. Yeah. In this one, it literally pans across. So you'll see this point and the camera goes to his back to show that there's nobody here. Because at this direction, you could still think, well, Tyler's just standing there, but we saw him grab his hand. So the hand is Tyler's hand's supposed to be Brad Pitt supposed to be grabbing him, but no, it pans behind Edward Norton's back and you see him holding it because he's holding the canister with his left hand, right? At this point. And it was all in his head. Everything was in his head. I can't really, it's so hard to do it like this, but yeah. And what he does is he tells him about the buildings, the bombings in the buildings, and how it cannot be stopped.
Well, no, actually, he doesn't tell him. He gets back home because he starts calling all of the locations to figure out what they are.
Yeah.
And one of the guy goes, 2160 goes, "Can I talk to your manager?" Speaking. He goes, "Yeah, they got to tell you there's something going on in your building." He goes, "Don't worry about it, sir. We have it covered. We're all set."
We're all set.
Everyone's in on it. So then he tries to go.
This is the point. Where he's back at the house and he's calling every single one of these things. Yeah. And you can see it on the map as well. And there's a point where he goes down to the basement and he sees the bathtub.
All the bathtubs full with the nitroglycerin. Where they were making the nitroglycerin to make the dynamite. Yeah.
Exactly. And he just realized things that were happening around him that he saw as Ed Norton, but he didn't connect the dots. And now at the end of the movie, everything connects. So he knows he's the one responsible, or his part of him is responsible for what is going on. And he goes to talk to Marla.
Yep.
But it still doesn't connect. He's like, I'm the one that's doing
it. To her, it doesn't connect because she thinks that he's always been the same person. She doesn't know that he's basically had dissociative identity disorder this whole time. So he convinces her to get on a bus and tries to be like, just go. I can't see where the bus is going. Just get on the bus, take the money, just go.
All he wants to do is he doesn't know what is actually going on, but he just knows he wants her away from him.
Yep.
And then he just puts her on the bus and immediately goes to this guy that's the investigative officer who investigated his apartment. And he comes to him and he tells him, I did it. I did the explosion. I sabotaged my own apartment. Take me under arrest, all that good stuff.
And then he brings up all the files and tells him, like, I think something is going to happen at these buildings sometime soon. Something has to be done about this. Then he leaves, and then the three detectives that are in the room with him go, "Sir, what you're doing, I have to commend you. It's very brave. It's really going to send a message to us." And they're all members of Project Mayhem. How insidious it is. It has affected everything.
Exactly. We know at this point where all the detectives come in, the conversation that they had with the police chief about we are everywhere, we are guarding you while you sleep. That was the clue to this point where they put in people all the right places.
Mhm.
He did, of course, all the right places in case something of his more sympathetic side will trigger and cry out for help. They would prevent that from happening.
Mhm.
So in any case, it's that is his fail safe to what he's planning.
And I won't go through the full spiel, but the last line he says, it goes, "No, no, no, I am Tyler Durden. I'm telling you, we're calling off this operation." And he goes, "You said you definitely say that."
Yes. It's like I'm telling you right now, this is serious. Call it off. It's like we knew you would say that. Like we know, we know this ain't happening. And I don't know how he wiggles itself out of this room, but he has to,
when they're
for
going
movie sake.
when they're going after that, he grabs one of their guns and he says, by far the dumbest way to reference shooting someone in the face. The first guy out of here gets a lead salad.
Yeah. And uh, astute gun owners would know that the safety is absolutely on.
Yeah.
Even if he wants to, he can't fire that gun. But never mind. Never mind. But yeah, this is where he says that, which is stupid, but that's you would you would expect that line from a guy who A, never held a gun before, B, watches movies and can't like give actual quotes from it, and C, is at a place where he's completely stressed out and he's
Yeah.
like taking all the files with him as if it matters.
It's gonna help anyway at this point.
Yeah,
No.
as if it matters.
No.
So he runs to one of the buildings, and there's a point where he can't open the door, and he's looking at himself with the gun, and it's sort of an ominous thing where he just fires at himself, maybe to kill himself, but he's actually shooting at the door, but he's looking at himself in sort of a mirror, which is a little bit foretelling.
Yeah.
And he runs up, and he finds that van where everything comes in, and he tries to stop it. I think, does he say it's never the green one?
No, when he is about to disarm the bomb, that's when Tyler personifies.
Yes, and he says, "Oh, it's never the green one. Don't cut the green one."
And he said, "Well, if I'm you, I know which wire to cut because." But then Tyler goes, "Well, what if I've been thinking about the wrong wire all day long?"
Exactly. His side of his personality messes with him as if it's a real struggle, but we all know by now it's not really a real struggle, but it's really funny. Yeah. It actually makes Brad Pitt a really good actor at this point.
When they're doing the scene when he actually does take the bomb out and stops it, Brad Pitt, he kicks him out of the back of the van. And the first thing is Brad Pitt gets up, and the first thing he does is he fires a shot at the van, and then Tyler, as not only a character but also the part of his brain, is whoa, you are now shooting a gun at your imaginary friend next to 8,000 gallons of nitroglycerin.
Exactly, and this part.
Yeah, and you get to see what it is actually the real, how people actually sell those fights. So those guys walking up and seeing those fight between the two of them, they're like, what? This guy's just beating the hell out of himself. What is going on?
Exactly. And this is the manifestation of what this is what everybody sees when they see him when he does his Tyler thing. Yeah. He just sees things at a different perspective, and this is the actual what is going on, because the security cameras can't lie. Right?
Yep.
And we get to this point.
We get back to basically the beginning of the film when he had the gun in his mouth, and he goes, "So now do you have anything to say?" And he goes, "So he takes the gun and he goes, "I still can't think of anything." And it's a little subtle joke, but I find it so funny when he says it. He goes, "Oh, I get it, flashback humor."
Yeah. Um, and all he can think about at this point is this. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. If I kill myself, then Tyler dies. And that is the only way to stop this.
Yeah. Well, he said, well, at that point, Tyler in his mind still had the gun, but he goes, well, no, you're part of my brain. So now it finally clicks in his head. He goes, no, we're the same person. So you
I'm
have the
holding
gun
the
in
gun.
your hand. I have the gun in my hand. And he goes and puts the gun underneath his chin, and he goes, and Tyler goes, well, good. What are you going to do about that? And what are you going to do? Good for you. You figured it out, but what are you going to do? Are you really going to do this? And
this, at this point, and I've seen this movie at least 10 times.
mm-hmm.
This ending, I just don't understand. I don't. He puts his gun in his mouth, right? Right. There's a big conversation between those two, and he puts his gun in his mouth and he fires it, but he fires it and only breaks his jaw, basically, right? He fires it.
Yeah, because it goes out here.
Yeah.
But I think that was his brain telling him that he had killed Tyler.
Yes, that's what I thought. It's like, if I put my gun in my mouth and press the gun, my brain will tell me that I've killed off that part of me.
Yes.
But I'm not dead.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of loses me, because he doesn't kill Tyler. He kills Ed Norton. Is that true? Because that's what I always thought. But after rewatching this again, I'm still not sure. Because for a very long time, what I thought is, he's putting his gun in his mouth. He's pressing the clicker. He knows it's not going to kill him because he's aiming to the side. And he kills a part of him. Which part does he kill?
He kills Tyler.
He kills Tyler.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Okay.
That's why the sequels go through that too.
The sequel?
The book sequels.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
They go through all of that. Yeah, no, the whole thing is he kills Tyler. That he kills that part of himself in order to be himself. So that in a way, it's kind of his own. This was his big moment of his own personal catharsis, where he was finally able to accept himself for who he actually was, and he didn't need that part of Tyler. He didn't need Tyler anymore, but he knew that Tyler was never going to go away unless he did something to get rid of it. So that's why he shot himself.
Yeah. All right. So he did kill Tyler.
Yes.
And of course they bring Marla up. The Project Mayhem brought her there because it was his orders. He knew when he put her on the bus, it was more likely you'll see her again. We knew it. The audience knows it. We know it. Yeah. So they stand there, and he accepts the fact that he is the main dude. So when he talks to them, he tells them, they ask him, "Are you okay?" I was like, I'm okay. No problem. Just leave her here. We're cool." And
find some gauze.
Yeah. Yeah. Fight. And at this point, everything blows up.
Yep.
Everything blows up.
The last line of the film is, "You met me at a very strange time in my life."
Yes.
Yeah. And then the best Pixie song ever plays. So
yeah, I know. I love that song. I love that song before I knew it was from the Pixies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I heard that song before, it was like a dark, dingy, edgy disco. It's not a disco, but a club, whatever. Heard it a million times, and then a friend of mine who had 2 Pixie albums is like, "Oh yeah, it's from the Pixies." Like, the Pixies? What kind of a fairy shit is that? It's like, "Oh, there's more." It's like, "Oh yeah, put it on." Yeah. It's like, we're done. We're done here.
Pixies are amazing. It's an amazing band.
Yeah. So we think we're gonna get at like a happy end because Tyler is dead, but this is where I got confused because I thought he killed Tyler Durden in his brain. So we're supposed to be left with the Ed Norton sympathetic, empathetic guy who wants to express himself but won't go into this to do it, but he actually does.
Well,
Because
we are,
he's
but
free.
unfortunately, is at this time there was no way it could be stopped. Because remember, when he was in the van, there were only 25 minutes left. That was enough time for Tyler, that part of his brain, to get him to the safe building in order, so he couldn't stop the rest of them.
Yes.
So in the end, even though Tyler lost, Tyler still won.
Yes. So it's an empirical victory or pyrrhical victory? Pyrrhic victory. Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
You won the battle but lost the war. A Pyrrhic victory is you've conquered Tyler, but you've lost the overall war, which is you won your personal battle, your demon, but you've
Tyler's
lost the overall war because the demon has already spread out and affected everyone around you, which is Project Mayhem.
Yep.
All right, cool. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Not bad.
So that was Fight Club. That's Fight Club.
That was Fight Club, a very, very dark movie.
I didn't go on as many rants as I thought I was going to, so that's good.
It's fine. I'm here to curb your enthusiasm, as we say. I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, when I got into, I told you last week about 1999 being a great year. I got really into that list. It has a lot of really, really good movies. A lot of movies that were had like a dystopian nature to them. Not all of them, but a lot of the really good ones. Sort of another facet of it is The Matrix, which is a very dystopian movie. I've got another one. I don't remember the Boondock thing.
Boondock Saints.
Yes, it's sort of a good cop that watches other people do heinous things, but he kind of sympathize with them. So that's kind of dystopian-esque.
Yeah, and also in a way, the Boondock Saints, they're getting revenge for someone. That's a movie I don't want to spoil that, but they're getting revenge for a reason, and the people that they're taking care of, Willem Dafoe's character can just kind of go,
I'm okay with it.
That's fine.
Sort of. Yeah. So well, maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. We've got so many.
There's so many films to watch.
Okay, so we kind of decided before the show we're gonna do either Tango and Cash or Big Trouble in Little China. Which one do you want? Because we need to say now and stamp it. It's on you. I'm good with both. I have both already preloaded on my PC.
You know which one I'm going to go for.
All right, we go for Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep.
Hey, I'm going to get my Kurt Russell, so I'm good.
As long as we never do Escape from LA, I'm 100% fine.
Escape from LA. Why not? Let's do it.
That movie is so awful. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's so bad because the first one was so good. Not because...
Well, there's that, and it's really bad too.
I mean, the surfboard scene was amazing.
I knew you were gonna bring that up.
Because everybody brings it, because it's ridiculous.
It is.
It's so ridiculous. Anyways, we're gonna go with a Big Trouble in Little China. You know what Jack Burton always says? It's a good time to pee on the side and fart in the wind. Okay, so next week we're gonna do that. And I'm going to bring a list of my best Jack Burton quotes, which he never said. All right. Till next week. Next time next week. We'll pretend there is a outro to this. Yeah, we got an outro. This